Hello everyone, I'm Denise Love, and here's a little preview of what we're going to be doing today. So let's get started. Today I want to do another color palette challenge, and I'm pulling from the color palette deck 2, The Color Cube by Sarah Renee Clark, because, you know, it's my goal to make it through all 500 cards, and if I only do one a week, then it's going to take me, 10 years. So sometimes I might do 2 a week, and this week this is my second video that I've recorded. I thought, let's play in palette number 500, because look at those yummy colors. And again, it's not my goal, just so you can see the names if you want. It's not my goal to match these colors exact. It's just to work within a color palette I wouldn't normally pull. And so I'm going to work in Daniel Smith today and make one of my blobby kind of beautiful abstracts. And so I pulled Fuchsite Genuine, and I should have got my color swatch book out and actually matched them to the color swatches, but I was being lazy and thinking that these colors here would be close enough to at least get me close. So I pulled out Fuchsite Genuine, Sleeping Beauty Turquoise Genuine for that kind of pretty turquoise, Naples Yellow, and then I pulled out this yummy little iridescent copper for this orange. And then I thought that this red Fuchsite Genuine would be about this pretty salmony color. It's not. It's like a dark burgundy, but we're going to go with it. And sepia for that dark color there. And I'm like, okay, let's use these colors that I have never pulled together before and just see what we can get. And I'm working on a piece of 9x12 Hanamulle. So, just going to get some water on my brush. And I'm going to pick whatever color just appeals to me, and I would say normally pick the colors that you like the most first, but all these colors are pretty. So I like them all the most. So I'm just going to go for it and just see, what can I end up with, and maybe today we'll appreciate the beauty of the transparency of the Daniel Smith watercolors. Somebody commented under one of my things, and I might have blocked them just because I thought that was a rude comment. I said, you're ruining the beautiful translucency of that watercolor by adding white to it. And I thought, well, that was very narrow-minded of your art practice. And I might have been in a hormonal mood and thought, block you. Sometimes I see comment numbers now on my videos, and they're like, 3 people have commented on your video. And I'm like, I only see 2. So maybe that's the people that we are no longer seeing commenting. And then I get a little chuckle. Okay, so this little Naples Yellow kind of goes bleh next to these. So if you start using one and you think, no, not quite what I wanted, just don't use it all over the place. Oh, I do like this copper. I wanted a little bit of bling bling in there, and this was how I decided to pull it in at this point. And when I'm doing these color palette challenges, I'm working with color palettes that I never would have pulled together. I'm using more colors than I would normally pull out, and that's why I like doing these too, because normally, I'd pull out blue and green and be like, okay, here's my colors I'm working with today. I would never pull out, say, 6 colors, in a rainbow here and try all 6. I would be very limited in what I might be pulling out to make an abstract. And that's why I like doing these, because you totally get outside of what you normally would do. You get outside that comfort zone and you start creating in ways that you wouldn't normally create. Now I do realize as I'm making this, I'm shifting down here a little bit. So I could either, when I'm done, trim that where I want to trim it, or I can work my way back this way a little bit more and try to even that out. It's just play for me at this point. I'm just playing. Most of the time I don't start out with an end goal in mind. And a lot of people, they get frustrated painting, me included. I used to paint and get angry because I never created what I had imagined in my mind. I was very specific about what I thought I needed to end up at, and then I couldn't get it to do that, and I was very mad about it. And now I don't start with any goal in mind. My goal is to play with color and just see, what can I make? What will I end up with? And let's just see where we get, because I don't have to have a tree that looks like a tree anymore. Because usually, you know, when you're painting real stuff and you're like, this tree needs to look like this tree I have in my mind, and then when it doesn't, you're like, oh, it's a terrible day, look how terrible this is, oh, I hate art. And you get mad because whatever you imagined in your mind, you just maybe didn't have the skill, or it was the wrong day and didn't come out the way you wanted it, and then you get mad. I get mad, and then you're like, oh, why do I even try to paint? I hate art. And now I have found, I'm going to just start laying some more color up here maybe. I really want my dark to be dark and rich, so I can either do that as something on top, or I can just go ahead and pull out the sepia ink. I love it when the dark colors really pack a punch and give me that contrast. But yeah, now I kind of start off with, I don't care where I end up, and then wherever I end up is great, because I didn't know when I started that's where I was going. And that has been so liberating. That's why I like to cut up art, because if I don't like what I created, who cares? I can just cut it up into something else. And every time you cut it up, it does look amazing. See, and I do like the contrast here I'm getting of that. Do I want to spread it out? Maybe a little. Let's see. Let's just add some, because some of it's thick. I can get that to really give me some movement there. And now I just go where it takes me. If I don't like it, I can cut it up. I don't have a specific thing in mind. I was talking about in the last book haul, if you didn't watch that, I was talking about, you know, people ask why I don't like to draw real stuff anymore. And, you know, I've taken plenty of art classes. I've done art for a very long time. But I was a drafter. Came out of school in design, and I did drafting on a drafting table before computer drafting was even a thing. That's how old I am. So I learned how to draft for hours and hours and hours on a drafting table, bent over with my T-square and my rulers and my drafting implements. This is from when I was in school, and I still have it. And then my whole career up until I started this creative business, I was a drafter. I worked with blueprints. I drafted kitchens and bathrooms. And then when CAD came around and 2020 came around and you started doing all the drafting on the computer, I did all the drafting on the computer too. And so everything was very precise, and it's all straight lines, and it was all no creativity really, rather than, you know, what amount of stuff can I stick in this many inches. And so I think because I was so precise for a very long time, we won't say how many years, now I like imprecision and all the things that abstract kind of that quality gives me. In addition to, I like colors and I like watching things blend, and that really attracts me too. And I collect abstract art and I paint abstract art, and that just seems to be what I love. But I love that there's nothing precise or straight or perfect about the pieces. You know what we could do real quick before this dries? We could get some drips. Let's do it. Drip it. Oh, look at that. Yeah, so that's, and so in my mind now, I'm very anti anything straight, anything perfect. And I want a toaster that looks like a toaster. I want a toaster that looks like a silver blob with some other blobs on it. But I mean, I've came to this, you know, artistic decision for myself after many, many years of trying everything under the sun and being a precision drafter. So that's just my own preference there. I had a troll that was like, you should learn to draw with a pencil. And I'm like, dude, I have spent more time with a pencil than anybody else on the planet. I choose to not do that now. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry for a moment, and then we're going to mark make on top. I do need to decide real quick, do I want to dip in some water and create texture anywhere? Do I need any extra color where I just blended those? So I kind of feel like that I want some, you want to do the little drips of water when it's damp, not when it's sopping wet, not when it's dry. You want to see the sheen kind of on the paper, and then the reason why I do that is to make the paint kind of bloom out and do fun stuff. And then you want to let it dry. You want to resist using a heat gun because you kind of miss out on some of the things that paint wants to do as it has the time to slowly do it. So you don't want to immediately get the heat gun out. Let it kind of do its thing. And I'm just kind of dapping water in there. And you can decide real quick too, do you want little water speckles out there? You can kind of decide that. I'm feeling like for the moment I want to let this dry, and then we'll see where else we can go with it. Alright, so now I'm just going to color and play. I like these little bits here. I think this was almost too dark for the composition, so I might try to get some of that darkness back over here. We'll see. And I like the copper bits in this. It's not super shiny, but it's in there, so I thought we could add little copper touches. And so I pulled out my PBO copper relief outline thing that I don't use very much, but this could be super cool for, say, copper dots or something. So I feel like we're going to get some fun stuff. This is just my matte 14B Pitt Graphite Matte by Faber-Castell pencil, and I'm going to do maybe some marks just to get started, and maybe something different than I normally do, like not just a dash or a hash mark or something, but maybe something with some little shape in it. I may regret that, but it's all about experimenting, and there's no end goal here. There's nothing saying here's what it had to look like, because again, I just like starting stuff and not knowing where I'm going to end, and just being like, okay, this worked and this didn't, and we'll take with us what worked further on, and if I decide that I don't like these, I'll know. I was just stencil looking on some I think it's called Joggles, that I ordered some stuff from because somebody mentioned they had Van Gogh and Klimt stencils, and now I'm like obsessed because I want to go back to my Klimt book and try out like different patterns and design. Like we should do a Klimt study for mark making. So that is in my mind, like a future project to deep dive in, maybe a Skillshare class. Who knows? We're gonna do I like doing master studies, but not copying their paintings. I like, working with some of their ideas. And even if you don't love like a mark that you did here, if you put it in more than one place, it looks like you did it on purpose, and then nobody but you will know if you loved it or not. Unless you kept it kind of small, and then you might get away with not repeating it. But I do like repeating elements throughout, so that I'm like, okay, that was on purpose. I did that on purpose. Like, convince yourself. I did that on purpose, people. Let's see. Maybe I want some of this brown. What do we want to do with this brown? I don't know. Let me come back to that. Maybe some dots. This is just my Pigma brush pen. And I like the brush pen, and now I'm thinking, do they make these brush pens in other sizes? Because I kind of like it. I know I've had it for a while, but I don't think I've got it out. Because my favorite black pen that I've been using in some videos is a Kuretake pen, and it came in one of the sketch boxes. And now I've not been able to find it again, and it's my favorite. And I'm like, well, shoot, that was my favorite. I hate it when I have a favorite and they discontinue it, or I can't find it again. Oh, it happens with everything. When I was younger, it'd be a favorite perfume or favorite shampoo, favorite lipstick color. Now I'm mad because it's a shampoo. Alright, super fun. I like those. I am feeling like maybe we need a swoopy thing in here. I love to swoop some stuff. Okay, I'm not sure that I like the quality of that line on that. So, I'm going to go with a black Posca pen. This is the 7mm tip. It's not the markers with the heavier line. And just very carefully go around this. And then if you're like, oh, that's super obvious that there was a different pen there, I could come back with that pen and just kind of swoop it in here again so that you know, oh, okay, that was on purpose. Anything that you do that you're like, ooh, that looks obvious now, that maybe you were trying to change something, go back and make it less obvious, like, oh, that was on purpose. She liked that extra bit. Nothing is a mistake. What is that? Let's see. I got these little kneaded erasers. If you get something on your paper that you don't love and you're not quite sure what it was, you can erase it off sometimes. I don't know what that is. I think it might have been a watercolor dot. That's all right. I think it was a watercolor dot. Making sure I didn't have something on my hand and I was doing that. Got my little hand holder here. It's my paint stick. I'm going to do pearls today. I'm in a pearl mood. I have decided after working with all the black pens and markers and stuff that maybe this Posca one is the one that is the most consistent for a pretty black line that most people would be able to get. So I think, you know, with the Pigma pens and the Kuretake pens and all those, this Posca one I think is my favorite for like mark making and drawing, if you're looking for a good one. And you might have a different favorite one. This has just been recently decided, and next video I might decide on another one, who knows. Alright, so I'm loving that. Let's see, what do we want to do? I like that it pulls the darkness over to the side. I might want something over here too to kind of pull that together. Like, did we want this over here maybe? So it wasn't like, why do you have that only in one spot? See if we could do that. That pull that together for us. And then I think I've got some, let's see, I've got some oil pastels over here. I'm really obsessed with the oil pastels. And I'm kind of feeling like, what could we do out here to really give us a punch of color? I'm kind of liking this thing right here. What about this? Would this be a good punch of color? Maybe the teal? Let me pull a teal out. So we've got the teal too. We could do teal. What are you feeling? Are you voting? A couple people are like, I was screaming at the TV screen when you pulled that out. Did you hear me? And I'm like, oh yes, I totally heard you. Went with the color you screamed out. Oh, I like these. I like it when there's like a, and you might not like them. If you don't like them, don't do them. It's all personal preference, and it doesn't matter if somebody else likes what you've got going on. Let's do this. Huh, kind of wish I left them just teal. But it does look a little bit like I've put some copper in the middle of those. Yeah, I'm good with that. Let's see, let's get some of this copper out. Okay, so what I like about this is it's a nice fine line, and we can make lines out of it, or we can make dots out of it, so you can kind of practice some dots and stuff as you're going. And I'm kind of feeling like, what if we do pretty fine copper dots in here? Oh my gosh, these are perfect. They're amazing. Once you find aspects on something like this that you love, go back and make one with all the aspects and things that you loved. Like this was our practice discovery piece, And once you're like, oh my gosh, these are the elements that I love, let me go back and make a real one now. Totally do that. This is my real one for me, but I'm just saying, you know, sometimes you do an element that you're like, oh, I hate that. You can go back and make another one. It's just paper, it's just paint. Be brave and experiment. Do 2 or 3 at a time, because then you can do whatever you loved on the third piece, and the first piece was your practice. Oh, look at these pretty copper dots. These are so pretty. And they'll have a textural element because these are kind of like raised up. They're not flat. So I love that kind of textural element that this gives. Because I love things that have that extra dimension that we're not getting with flat paint. Which is why I like watercolor that blooms and granulates. Okay, I love that so much, but I'm kind of also thinking maybe we want some smudged out here, like with a palette knife. Ooh, what do we think of that? Let's put a little on a knife rather than on the paper, and then I can smear it out. Let's just see what we get. Ooh, look at that. Look at that. We might smear some dots. I'm okay with that. But I just want to get something different going. Look at that copper. Let's do it up here some. Wow. I don't know what that was. That was brown that smeared. Oh, that might have been... No, I don't think it was. I didn't have brown there, did I? I'm thinking that could have been that oil pastel, but I didn't have brown. Oh, it could have been ink, I guess. Oh, I picked up ink from there. Okay, I see. Like, what did I do? Okay, so that was pretty fun with the copper. And then we just got to look and see, does it need anything else? Are we going anywhere else with this? Let's just check it out. Lots of good, yummy elements going on in there. Kind of liking where we ended up for the moment. I like that little shimmer of the copper. You can kind of see that shimmering. Look how pretty these little dots are, and they give an extra little element in there. I'm loving that. Let's see what it looks like next to our inspiration palette. Oh, pretty darn close. Okay, that's super fun. Let's peel the tape. And you know, peeling tape for me doesn't mean it has to be done. Just means that maybe I'm done for now, or maybe I'm taking a look at it and deciding, does it need anything else? Like, I'm feeling like this piece could use deckled edges. That would be a nice last step for this. I just love these. They're so fun. Just mark making and seeing the colors blend and seeing what you get. So I think I will trim this a tiny bit here, or deckle the edges a little bit here, and then I think I'll call that piece complete. Alright, so that was a super fun color challenge. I hope you enjoy painting with me today. Definitely share with me anything you're working on. If you're on Instagram at Two Little Owls Art, you can tag me. You can join the Facebook art group that I have. I have all those linked down in the comments below. And I'll see you next time.